Hey guys, today I want to make this video in regards to people who are or have been insecure about the darkness of their skin. Now, I speak to this because I know this is a huge issue amongst the South Asian culture, this obsession and need to have lighter skin or skin closer resembling whiteness. But I'm also not ignorant to the fact that having lighter skin is an issue, and being insecure about the darkness of skin is an issue that that exists in almost all non-white communities around the world. So I'll start off by telling my personal story. My skin tone is what's known as Shemla in Bengali terms, and that is essentially a cross between darkness and lightness. Meaning I'm not completely dark and I'm not completely light, but at the same time Shemla is something negative because it means your skin tone is too dark to be considered aesthetically ideal. Growing up, I was not constantly told, but I was told enough to know that my skin tone was considered a hindrance on my aesthetics, amongst other things. And essentially, the most blatant example I can tell you from my childhood was when I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. We had a relative visiting our house, and she was like telling my mother how dark I was, and my mom started making excuses like, oh, she likes to play in the sun, she's always in the sun without a hat. And the relative's like, well, I have a solution, I can make your daughter lighter. And this woman essentially, and this isn't creepy because I was little, woman essentially, her solution was to bathe me, and instead of using, like a loofah to scrub me, she used a pumice stone. She scrubbed me with a pumice stone. If you guys don't know what a pumice stone is, it's what you use to remove the calluses from the bottom of your feet. Now, psychologically, think about what this did to me. She used a pumice stone to essentially rub my skin of darkness. And as a kid, I probably didn't look into it as much as I do now, but psychologically as a kid, that was traumatic for me, that somehow my skin was so dark that it needed to be rubbed off of my body in order to reveal the skin that was beneath it. You know what I mean? So that's probably the most blatant example. And as I've gotten older, there's kind of two things that have stopped my insecurity about my dark skin. Two kind of rationalizing elements that have made me realize that being insecure about the darkness of your skin is one of the worst and one of the most useless things to be worried about. And I'll say why. So the first thing that made me realize that this obsession with lightening your skin was stupid is because wanting lighter skin and emphasizing the importance of light skin is a colonial legacy. Almost all non-Western, and I say non-Western, almost all non-Western cultures were colonized. And, and essentially this led to the creation of this obsession with having lighter skin, as people that were colonized wanted to be more and more like their colonizers. They wanted to be lighter and lighter so that they could more closely resemble Europeans that were in power at the time. So you think about how messed up colonialism was. You think about how racist and discriminatory and evil it was. And then you think about this obsession with lightness being a legacy of it, and you realize how this obsession with lightness is just as evil, is just as irrational, and is just as damaging as colonialism was. You know what I mean? It's not on the same grounds, but I mean, I'm trying to draw like an analogy here. So in a post-colonial context, this obsession with lightening your skin serves as a legacy of kind of what people were striving to be during colonial era. So in a way, I'm kind of saying that it's outdated. It's an outdated thing to be obsessed with light skin, but it still happens in many societies throughout the world today. So that was the first thing that got me to stop being insecure about the darkness of my skin tone. The second thing that stopped me from being insecure about the darkness of my skin tone was the fact that I realized that it's unlike any other insecurity anyone can have. For example, you can be insecure about your weight. I know I'm insecure about my weight sometimes, And if I was really so insecure about it that I wanted to do something about it, I would go ahead and lose the weight, or I would make attempts to lose the weight. And 99.9% of the time, if you have a problem with your aesthetics, you can change it. You can go ahead, if you are insecure because your hair is short, you can go ahead and get extensions. If you're insecure about, your eyelids being a certain way, you can go ahead and change that. There's so many things you can do. But skin, you can't change your skin. Your skin tone is embedded into your genetic code. The only thing, this is biological, people, the only thing differentiating you and someone who is lighter than you or someone who is darker than you is the content of melanin in their skin pigments. You know what I mean? It's just pigmentation. And you think about quick fix methods to change the color of your skin. You think about skin bleaching and skin whitening, for example. You have to bleach and whiten your skin. If you're on these regimens to change the color of your skin, you have to bleach and whiten your skin almost on a daily basis. And you think about the health effects of that. You can't go out into the sun. You can't go into a swimming pool, because as soon as the sun hits your skin, as soon as the chlorine seeps into your skin, you will develop rashes and you'll develop hyperpigmentation, which is the opposite of what you're trying to accomplish. So essentially, if you go on these regimens to lighten or change the color of your skin, you have a host of other risks that are associated with going on those regimens. You cannot permanently and safely change your skin tone, people. You can't. And that's another thing that led me to stop being insecure about it. Because this is biological. If someone comes up to me and tells me that my skin is dark, they are essentially calling into question the worth of my DNA. I can't do anything about it. And that's exactly what I tell people now. When people come up to me and they're like, your skin is dark, I tell them, I'm like, do you want me to go on some sort of bleaching or skin lightening regimen that not only is a temporary fix, but could also change the integrity and quality of my skin? I'd rather have good ass dark skin than fragile ass skin that has been subject to bleaching and whitening. And that's what I tell people, and they have nothing to say in response to that. Or people are like, oh, your skin is so dark, you know what you should do? You should put on lighter foundation. I have seen countless amounts of South Asian women, and I'm sure this happens in other cultures as well, countless amounts of South Asian women plastering their face in foundation that is 2 to 3 shades darker, 2 to 3 shades lighter than them. Why would you do something like that? And especially at weddings. This happens most at weddings. To the point where I will be looking at photos of a bride and not be able to recognize her. Who wants to be unrecognizable? Who wants to look completely different than they actually do on their wedding day? I don't understand the logic behind that, and I never will. And as a result, I've stopped being upset about the fact that my skin is darker than most South Asian girls. So if you are someone that is grappling and having a hard time and thinking about bleaching their skin or have bleached your skin, just keep 3 things in mind. Number 1, as I said, that this is biological. It's not anyone's fault. It shouldn't even be seen as a fault because it's what you were born with. And I don't want to go all Lady Gaga, but you were born this way. You were born with that skin tone. Secondly, you need to question where your insecurity stems from. Are you insecure about your skin tone because you have brought it upon yourself? Or are you insecure because people have told you that you are dark? Because the media has suggested that you're too dark? Are you insecure for those reasons? Or are you insecure because you honestly look at yourself in the mirror and don't like the color of your skin? And the third thing you need to realize is how beautiful it is that everyone has a darker... No, that didn't sound right. How beautiful it is that people are darker than others and that people are lighter than others. When I go to a makeup counter and I see all these colors of foundation, I personally think it's awesome. Because beauty comes in all colors. And again, I hate to sound cliche, but how awesome is it that every single person has a different skin tone? How amazingly beautiful is this world that you can go to a place and recognize someone as different from you, as unique from you, but still respect them just the way they are. So that's my rant, you guys. I get a lot of questions about skin bleaching and skin lightening and if I've ever had insecurities. Of course, I've had lots of insecurities about the color of my skin tone, and I've had to deal with some shit that people shouldn't have to deal with, but do. But I'm over it. This is one insecurity I can 100% say I'm completely over.